the Mind Fitness Doctor, medicine for your body, mind and soul, mindfulness-based yoga, coaching and therapy.
And welcome to covering. So basically, self-compassion is learning to treat yourself like you would a friend or a child or even a pet. So if you have ever realized that we talk to each other in such a harsh way, that inner critic, that we would never ever talk to anybody else, and we have so much higher expectations for ourselves than we do for other people. So it's learning about how to become our own inner coach or our own inner compassionate guide. So listening to that kind voice. Kind of research shows that when we are harsh to ourselves, our nervous system perceives ourselves to be in threat, and so we activate that flight or fight nervous system. So we're always putting ourselves into stress response when we're beating ourselves up. And when we talk to ourselves like we would talk to someone else, and there's a reason we talk with kindness to other people, is that it soothes and calms them and brings on their parasympathetic calming nervous system. So essentially, that's that mindful fitness, like physical fitness, and learning those self-compassionate micro self-care practices that we can do in the moment. And so mindful self-compassion consists of 3 components, if you've heard of Kristen Neff. So the first component, so you can also do it with gestures. So the first component is mindfulness. So if you clench your fists, this is talking about the struggle we have in life, the resistance, not wanting things to be as they are. I wish this wasn't what it is. I want to strive harder. I want more. I have to have more to feel better in life. So this is about life. It's also about hitting ourselves over the heads, being that inner critic. So it's kind of that punching bag part of life. And what mindfulness does is that the first component of self-compassion is to allow us to let it go and let it be. And if you feel into your hands and you feel how different it is when we let it go and we let it be, and we're aware of what the struggle is in our life and can give it some space. And then the second part of mindful self-compassion is that fact that, on Facebook, I don't know if you can really see, if you take your arms out wide, that's the second part of it. It's about the mindfulness of our suffering, but it's like hugging the whole world, this common humanity part of it. It's everybody has difficulties in life, everybody suffers, everyone has these emotions, and we're not alone. We're all in this together. So that's the second part of self-compassion. And then the third part of self-compassion is about bringing some kindness to ourselves. So if we bring our hands onto our hearts, you can feel that softening and soothing. We're actually stimulating our parasympathetic vagal nerve when we're doing that, like when we're putting our hands onto our face. It's the same thing, that softening and soothing touch. Perhaps we're accessing some kind words such as, may I have the grace to go at my own pace, may I live my life with ease, may I feel peace in this moment. And so that also activates that calming nervous system. So we go from the flight or fight into that calming nervous system. And research shows that when we do that in the moment for ourselves, asking ourselves what we need in this moment and being kind to ourselves, that we do calm ourselves. And so what we have in our brains, and the research behind it all, is all really, really, really fascinating, but it's all about these things called mirror neurons in our brains. And so when we feel when other people are in pain, we feel their pain. When our children are going through struggles, I was talking to a mum who said she's only really as happy as her unhappiest child. So we feel that empathetic distress and we feel it in our bodies. And I'm sure a lot of you have felt that when there's something that's happening that's really distressing, and how you kind of pick up on those vibes. You're actually picking it up with your mirror neurons. And so we feel that empathetic distress in our bodies. We feel the pain of connection to that person. And so by asking ourselves, by saying this is really hard, we're also feeling that stress. And by being kind to ourselves, bringing in some self-care or some words or some soothing touch, we then calm ourselves, and then our mirror neurons affect the other person who's in pain, and that helps calm them. So for example, when I was at the underwater hockey tournament, my daughter was playing with some, she's in an open team, she's in year 11, she's playing year 13 boys, and it was quite a rough game, and she got knocked in the head, and she tried to keep on playing, but then she had to get out because she felt quite unwell in the pool. And so I was feeling the pain of that connection to her, so I needed to stop and breathe in that moment. In order to be able to help and care for her, I needed to ask myself what I needed to do in that moment. And in that moment, what I needed to do was to place my feet on the ground, to feel my feet attached, to come into the present, to take 3 deep breaths, and to kind of tell myself it's going to be okay, and not to get into that catastrophizing mindset about what a knock to the head meant to her. And hopefully by me being calm, it helped her to be calm. She's actually quite a naturally calm person herself, so she's a calming influence on everyone else around her. But yeah, it goes round and round in circles, as you can see. So those 3 components of mindful self-compassion, that being aware of our struggle and our resistance, the mindfulness of us lets us let it go and let it be. We're aware that we're not the only ones that will feel this way. That other mothers in the same situation where their daughters have had a knock to the head kind of feel the same amount of anxiety and pain to see their child in pain. And then that kindness, what do I need in this moment? Do I need to take 3 breaths? Do I need to speak to myself? Tell myself it's going to be okay, it's okay. And then there's also that's the yang part of self-compassion, but there's also the yang part, so that's also the kind of putting your hand out, the boundaries, saying no, and being that coach. So being that inner coach to yourself. So we're talking to the kids at the underwater hockey tournament about, telling themselves they could do it, telling themselves they believed in themselves, telling themselves that they could score that goal. And if they didn't, not beating up on themselves, having that growth mindset. And all the research is so compelling around it. It's people believe it's self-indulgent, and you're not going to have motivation, but the research shows that you're less likely to ruminate and go down that rabbit hole because you're mindful of things. You're more able to care for others when you're caring for yourself, so you're spreading those seeds of compassion. You're less likely to not up all the time. You're becoming your own inner coach. You have less anxiety, depression, physical illnesses. There's just so much research about the benefits of self-compassion, and I suspect it's because actually what we're doing is we're bringing on board our calming nervous system, and also that oxytocin, that hormone of connection and well-being, and dopamine and serotonin and all those good things that happen with mindful self-compassion. So if you're wanting to learn more about this, I would love to see you on the 9-week course. We actually need to complete this long course in our training so that we can start to deliver the short course, and the short course hopefully to healthcare workers, as I have been there and experienced burnout and empathy fatigue and caregiver fatigue myself. So
to find out more about mind, fitness and yoga coaching and courses, then visit my website and app at mindfitnessdoctor.co.nz. This is where you can join the Mind Fitness Gym, which is the only gym for the mind, where you will receive medicine for your body, mind and soul. Namaste.